Most people spend their entire lives striving for a number they never actually defined. They chase every opportunity to reach that number, spending their whole lives doing so. They work harder, earn more, upgrade their lifestyle, but somehow that feeling of enough never comes. You tell yourself that moment will come when you reach a certain salary, pay off your debts, or finally save a certain amount of money. But that moment keeps receding. Humans are insatiable. They love to push boundaries. It always recedes. And the uncomfortable truth is that for most people, the real issue was never the number. Here is what no one tells you: feeling sufficient is not a financial turning point, it is a psychological one. And until you understand that difference, no amount of money will ever feel sufficient to you because you have programmed yourself to deceive your own feelings about your desires. Welcome to 5 Minute Money. In the next 5 minutes, you'll learn one powerful idea that can change the way you think about money. If you find value here, subscribe for more. Now let's continue. There is a concept that economists and behavioral scientists have studied for decades, and it consistently produces the same uncomfortable result. When people are asked how much money they would need to feel financially secure, the answer is almost always more than they currently have, regardless of their income level. A person earning $30,000 a year says they need 50. A person earning 200,000 says they need 400. The number scales with the person. It always does. This is not ambition. This is something else entirely. In 2026, the cost of a stable, comfortable life in a mid-tier city in the developed world has crossed a threshold that most financial planning models from a decade ago did not anticipate. Housing costs have compounded. Insurance has restructured itself around risk categories most people do not understand. The price of healthcare, education, and basic retirement security has quietly shifted in ways that make older benchmarks almost meaningless. The old rule of thumb, save 10%, retire comfortably, no longer reflects the architecture of the modern economy. So, what does enough actually look like today? The answer depends entirely on what you are trying to protect. If your goal is survival, covering basic expenses without stress in most developed economies, this figure currently sits between $4,000 and $5,000 per month in net income, not gross, net, after taxes, after fixed expenses. This figure provides stability, not comfort. Many people would consider this a comfortable life, but this figure is a threshold. It sets you apart. If your goal is true comfort, the kind where an unexpected car repair or medical bill does not derail your entire financial structure, that number climbs significantly. By 2026, financial researchers point to a household net worth of approximately 1.2 to 1.5 million dollars as the threshold where financial anxiety begins to meaningfully decrease. A decrease, not a disappearance. And if your goal is what most people vaguely call wealth, the ability to make important life decisions without consulting your bank account, that number is considerably higher and varies dramatically depending on geography, family structure, and the systems you have built around your assets. Unfortunately, for most people, feeling secure still comes down to numbers. But here is where the real insight lives. Most people never reach the feeling of enough because they are measuring the wrong thing. They track income, they track net worth on paper, they track what they own. What they rarely track is their cost of financial anxiety, how much mental energy, how many hours, how many decisions are being consumed by money stress every single day. The people who genuinely feel wealthy are not always the ones with the highest number. They are the ones whose financial structure requires the least amount of daily management. A person with $2 million in volatile, complex, high maintenance investments often feels less financially secure than someone with 800,000 in a simple, diversified, low-cost structure running quietly in the background. More money often means more responsibility. Security is not a number. It is the ratio between what you have and what your life demands from you financially every single day. This is what the conversation about wealth almost never addresses. The question is not how much you have. The question is how much your financial life costs you in attention, worry, and energy. How much peace do the numbers in your account actually buy you, once varietas, and how much of your life do they still control? When that cost drops low enough, when your structure is solid enough that money stops being the loudest voice in the room, that is when enough finally arrives, not as a number, as a silence. And for most people, that silence is the thing they were chasing all along. They just never knew what to call it. So tell me right now, honestly, does your financial life feel like silence or does it still feel like noise?